Did Iran just play a US ally in the Gulf for a fool, quietly using its territory to buy Chinese military tech, only to turn the same weapons against it? The IRGC fired 2,800 missiles and drones at the UAE after exploiting its own supply channels. Did Abu Dhabi unknowingly help on the strike that hit it? Exposed. Did Iran use Washington's trusted Gulf partner as a hidden conduit to move Chinese military technology, blowing a hole in Western sanctions and intelligence? Did the UAE walk into its own trap? Leaked papers reveal a covert Emirati weapons pipeline that Tehran may have used against the Gulf state. Iran used a UAE-based commercial network to purchase advanced Chinese satellite equipment, according to leaked records that detail the hidden procurement route. The procurement network allegedly linked the IRGC's aerospace force to Chinese satellite communication technology, giving Iran access to more sophisticated surveillance tools. That same IRGC aerospace branch later launched around 2,800 missiles and drones against targets in the Gulf state, using capabilities it had quietly built up over years. Leaked documents indicate the equipment was moved through UAE free trade zones, exploiting light regulation and high cargo volumes to conceal its true end-user in Iran. The consignment was routed through Telesun, a company based in Ras Al Khaimah, which acted as a key intermediary between Chinese suppliers and Iranian recipients. Records show that about 1.8 tons of antenna equipment were shipped from Shanghai, consistent with a large, high-value batch of satellite communication hardware. The shipment passed through Dubai's Jebel Ali port before heading toward Iran, blending into one of the busiest maritime logistics hubs in the world. The final delivery leg was carried out by the Iranian vessel Rama 3 in November 2025, completing the covert transfer from Chinese factories to Iranian territory. Investigators say the Rama 3 broadcast false GPS signals during its voyage, using spoofed location data to hide its actual route into Iranian waters. Satellite imagery later confirmed the vessel at Iran's Shahid Raji port in Bandar Abbas, tying the falsified GPS track to a real offloading point. Customs documents describe the cargo only as antenna and accessories packed in 6 cases, a bland label that helped avoid drawing attention to the shipment. The equipment was officially consigned to Irtibatat Faragosta Kish, EFK, an Iranian telecom company that appears in the paperwork as the civilian end-user. Contracts show Telesun bought the equipment for EFK on behalf of Salman Industrial Group, adding another layer between the Chinese exporters and Iran's military sector. The US Treasury sanctioned Salman Industrial Group in 2023 for supporting IRGC drone and missile programs, citing its role in sourcing key components. US authorities said Salman used front companies and intermediaries to procure UAV components, helping Iran bypass export controls and financial screening. The European Union also sanctioned the IRGC Self-Sufficiency Jihad organization for its role in developing and transferring Iranian drones abroad. Shipping agent Blue Car Marine Services was sanctioned by the US in 2023 as well, accused of facilitating maritime logistics linked to Iran's weapons programs. Earlier reporting said Iran used a Chinese satellite to track US bases and allied infrastructure before launching its attacks, enabling more precise targeting. The United States has warned that China-based entities supporting Iranian military operations will not go unanswered, signaling possible further sanctions or punitive steps. America's key Arab ally has now revealed what could be a major breakthrough in the high-stakes negotiations surrounding Iran. A senior UAE official claimed that Washington and Tehran are now moving increasingly closer toward a possible agreement. The remarks specifically referred to the tense negotiations surrounding the reopening of the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. Anwar Gargash claimed there is currently a 50-50 possibility that the United States and Iran could strike a deal over the waterway. The close aide to Mohammed bin Zayed made the remarks while speaking during the Globsec forum held in Prague. Reports suggest the United Arab Emirates remains deeply concerned that Iran's continued defiance could stall negotiations indefinitely. The senior Abu Dhabi official also warned that Tehran should avoid overplaying its leverage during the ongoing talks with Washington. Abu Dhabi further demanded that Iran restore the Strait of Hormuz to its pre-war operational status without restrictions. The UAE presidential advisor said, and I quote, "Iran missed a lot of chances over the years because there's a tendency to overestimate their cards. I hope they don't do that this time. Negotiations just to reach a ceasefire and sow the seeds for further conflict in the future is not what we're seeking. And I think that the Strait of Hormuz clearly has to go back to the status quo, and this should be an international waterway. The Iranian nuclear program was our second or third worry. Now it's our first worry. We see that Iran is capable of using any weapon that it has in its hands, which is what we learned." End quote. Reports regarding a possible draft agreement between Iran and the United States were also allegedly leaked by a Saudi media outlet. Saudi-based news outlet Al Arabiya has claimed that it obtained what it describes as the final draft of a potential agreement between Washington and Tehran, though the authenticity of the document has not been independently verified. The reported draft is said to have been facilitated through mediation efforts by Pakistan, as tensions between the United States and Iran continue to intensify across multiple regional flashpoints. According to the report, the draft agreement primarily focuses on establishing ceasefire conditions, offering potential sanctions relief, and promoting broader regional stability between the two adversaries. The document is said to include provisions calling for a complete halt to military operations on all sides, along with an end to what it describes as an escalating media and information war. Another reported clause emphasizes respect for Iran's sovereignty, while also calling for strict non-interference in the country's internal political and domestic affairs by external actors. The agreement also reportedly seeks to guarantee freedom of navigation across key maritime routes, including the Persian Gulf and the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. The draft reportedly calls for an immediate, comprehensive, and unconditional ceasefire across all domains of conflict, including land, sea, and air operations without exception. Both sides are said to agree under the draft not to target any military installations, civilian populations, or critical economic infrastructure during the period of de-escalation. The proposed terms also include a complete end to active military operations, alongside a simultaneous halt to what is described as an ongoing media and propaganda war. The agreement emphasizes mutual commitments to respect sovereignty, territorial integrity, and a strict policy of non-interference in each other's internal affairs. It also includes guarantees ensuring freedom of navigation across key waterways such as the Arabian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, and the Gulf of Oman. A joint monitoring mechanism is reportedly proposed to oversee implementation of the agreement and to resolve any disputes that may arise between the parties. The draft suggests that negotiations on unresolved or outstanding issues would begin within 7 days of the agreement being put into effect. It also outlines a phased approach to lifting U.S. sanctions, conditional on Iran's continued compliance with the agreed terms. The document is said to reaffirm both parties' commitment to international law and the principles outlined in the United Nations Charter. Once formally announced by both Washington and Tehran, the agreement would reportedly take effect immediately without further delay. The report further states that negotiations addressing remaining or outstanding issues between the two sides are expected to begin within 7 days of the initial agreement framework. Under the reported framework, the United States would begin a gradual process of lifting sanctions, provided that Iran fully adheres to the terms outlined in the agreement. However, the draft reportedly does not contain any explicit references to Iran's nuclear program or its missile capabilities, raising questions about the scope of the proposed deal. According to reporting cited by the Times of Israel, there is no clause in the document addressing Iran's stockpile of uranium enriched to 60% levels. The reported draft also appears to omit any restrictions or limitations on Iran's ballistic missile program, despite its significance in previous negotiations. Additionally, the leaked document reportedly makes no reference to Iran's support for regional proxy groups, which has long been a central concern for U.S. policymakers. Al Arabiya also reports that the agreement could potentially be announced within hours, although it is still described as pending final approval from both sides. If finalized, the deal is expected to come into force immediately once it is formally and jointly announced by both the United States and Iran.